Hey, what's up? It's Travis. Happy Sunday. I'm just chilling, relaxing, having a good day. Um, my dad was a preacher, and so maybe this is my chance to be a preacher. I do not monetize my YouTube. I'm just chilling. I just have something I want to share with you. I am schizophrenic. I am in recovery from alcohol and cannabis use disorder. I've been sober since January 13th, 2024. So, in about a month and a half or 2 months, I'll be at 2 years sober. I am schizophrenic, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but I do believe I have something to share about the Christian faith. Like I said, my dad was a pastor, and I have a few things to say. Um, Nobody's perfect. And that's what makes me believe so much more that Jesus is God. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say everyone on the left wing is perfect or right. I'm not going to say everyone on the right wing is perfect or right. I'm not going to say everyone on the left wing is bad or everyone on the right wing is bad. I personally am a Democrat in the United States. I voted for Kamala Harris. I've never voted Republican in my entire life. Living in the social system at like a adult foster care home and I get SSI to pay rent, I definitely take advantage and I rely on the social system. So, Democrat, left wing makes sense for me, just letting you know where I stand. I have been reading the Holy Bible. Over the past 2 years, I started with the New Testament. I read it from front to back, or, the beginning of the New Testament all the way to the end of the New Testament, just reading one chapter a day. Usually in the Bible, a chapter is about a page or half a page. After I finished the New Testament, I started going into the Old Testament, and I'm about halfway through there. I'm in Job or Job, however you pronounce it. It's uh, Job or Job was a guy who was chilling. He had a big family. He had like I believe he had a farm, and the devil pointed out to God, "Let's see what happens if you let me take away his life." And so God said, "Sure, let's do it. We've never done that before, so let's do it." And the devil basically killed his whole family, Job's whole family. He's still alive. The devil basically killed all of his animals, and his farm was destroyed, and his family was destroyed. And Job, I'm only a few chapters in, like four or five pages into Job, and it's pretty long. It's like a 40 page or maybe 20 page book of the Old Testament, and he is very upset. Basically, it's written as he speaks as a poem in a way. I read it as a poem, even though it is him speaking, and he just says like, why me? I long for death. What did I do wrong? But that's where I'm at in the Bible. I'm about halfway through the Old Testament. I've already read the whole New Testament. And so that's where I'm at spiritually. About three-fourths of the Bible read. I plan on finishing the Bible. But I want to talk about how people are imperfect. Imperfection. People who make Christian rock are not perfect people. So if you get offended by something they say or judgmental and you want to write off their music, you're really taking away from your own spiritual walk with God. Being too judgmental over the people they're just musicians like every other musician, only they give you a gateway to worship God with their music, and that's a beautiful thing. Now, that being said, you can get canceled. If you are a bad person, I believe, yes, get canceled, but If we only follow or only listen to perfect people, we will always find an imperfection and a reason to judge them and a reason to stop listening to them. One of my favorite preachers on YouTube and Spotify podcasts is Pastor Rick Warren. I was following him and I listened to his Daily Hope podcast every day, well, every weekday, and twice a week I was listening to his YouTube videos. Now, we're in the year 2025 right now. I found out recently that he stepped down as a pastor in 2022 and because of his health issues, he's still a volunteer, but I found out that these were reruns basically. Like if you grew up with TV, if you grew up with TV like in the early 2000s, you know there'd be reruns, like a new episode on a Friday, but Monday through Thursday was reruns of like 2-year-old content. I personally judged him when I found out that he was still accepting money and donations for his podcast and his YouTube videos when it's just reruns. And I was so angry and I stopped listening to it. And that hurt me more than it hurt anyone else. Why? My judgment was supposed to hurt him saying, why is he taking donations for reruns? But you have to realize he's imperfect. He does have a health issue. Money going into a Christian content creator is probably a good way to spend money. So, and when you find out, like I went to this church, right? I went to this church in my hometown, and I found out that they were um, against the COVID vaccines, and they would make the pastors would make funny. I thought were not funny. I thought they were offensive jokes about not getting the vaccine for COVID, and I stopped going to that church. That hurt me and my spiritual growth because of my judgment. You have to realize these people are not perfect and nobody is perfect. So if you find one thing wrong with them and decide to stop going to their church, you're only hurting yourself. You'll never find that perfect Christian to follow. And when I realized this, that you'll never find that perfect Christian to follow with music, YouTube, church, family, if you disregard someone's opinions or when they're trying to help you and you disregard them because of judgment, you're really missing out on something good. And one thing that Pastor Rick said in his recent podcast was expect the best. You don't need to go expecting the worst. Expect the best from people every day. And I believe that it's every day is a clean slate. Everyone gets to start new every day. The sun rises again and we all make good decisions. And that being said, some people are bad. There are bad people in the world. But I want to be an optimist, and especially with like Christian people, they want to be good. They want to be good, but they're imperfect. So if someone wants to be good, just expect the best from them. All that, my main point, this video is almost done. We're coming up to 10 minutes here pretty soon. That's a good length for a video. When I realized that all of the Christians are imperfect, and if I want to judge them for that, that's only hurting myself. And then I realized Jesus was perfect. There's a whole New Testament about Jesus and how he's perfect and he was still killed. He resurrected, but he was still killed. So seeing that nobody's perfect except for Jesus, that really helps my faith start again, like really boosts up my faith and really believe in Jesus, that he's God and he has resurrection power and he can heal the sick and he can answer the most hopeless prayer and he loves us. So seeing that Christians are imperfect and still following them because they're doing their best, expect the best every day, I realize now how important it is for Jesus to be a perfect person, and it's proof that he is God. Amen.